I'm Gab. He's Jules. Blue skies over West London. Jules, we've had the first week of the season in the Premier League. Not just that, other stuff around Europe. Bayern winning the German Super Cup. Real Madrid needing the late winner from the new Gonzalo Garcia. Barcelona looking deadly. Francesco Pio Esposito too. But we need to focus on the Premier League because remember we used to talk about the big six, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Arsenal win. City need 2 goals in the last 7 minutes to go and avoid defeat against Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Liverpool need a penalty in the 5th minute of injury team to avoid defeat at Newcastle. Hull beat Manchester United. Spurs losing to Brentford. Chelsea don't want to jinx it. They play in a few hours away to Fulham, but the club's kind of chaotic right now. Sorry, before we get into Newcastle Liverpool, which is our big game.
Yeah, great first weekend.
It's great because the big teams lost, or does this kind of just reinforce what we said, that the gap is just enormous, and these other teams are just behind right now. They're behind where they want to be in terms of preparation, in terms of chemistry. I mean, there's no other explanation, right?
No, and you can question why you're not ready when the season starts, really, especially if you're a top club with a lot of resources, with a lot of money to sort out your recruitment, to sort out your transfer window, to get those players ready. And even if some were at the World Cup, some of them came back a long time ago. So it was good to see so many things happening. I don't think it's great for the Premier League that the big teams don't do that well on the first weekend. But again, they will get better. They will get stronger. For some of those teams, the starting 11 will look very different in 2 weeks' time or even a month time. So there's, for some, nothing to worry too much about. But I thought it was great that, it was not so straightforward, especially for the big boys.
Let's talk Newcastle and Liverpool. I think we have to start with Newcastle. I mean, we often point out flaws in the other team. But Newcastle, you have this guy, Matthias Jaisler. He's like, the next big thing in football at Salzburg. Decides to take the money and go to Al Ahly in the Saudi Pro League. Some of us thought, all right, did he kind of lose his edge while he was out there? Because it is a very different environment in which to work. Comes back, replaces Eddie Howe, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
On a team where confidence is low. They've had to sell everybody because, hey, guys, guess what? You can have very wealthy Saudi owners. You can be owned by Mubada, or not Mubada, but the Public Investment Fund.
Yeah.
But you still have to follow the rules, and they're following the rules. And so Anthony Gordon leaves, Bruno Guimaraes leaves, Sandro Tonali leaves. And he just goes out with this 4-2-4, if you want to call it that. Fast guys, solid defending, a lot of guys missing, Joe Linton, Dan Burn, so on. And I thought they just carved Liverpool up in transition time and again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the game, really. It's that verticality, the transition, playing so quick forward. And they will have issues because they can't play like that. They need a plan B, and there's no plan B. So when they play against teams that are not as open as Liverpool were on Sunday, I think they will struggle maybe a bit more. But for this game, with the atmosphere that was there at St. James's Park after the tribute, especially beautiful tribute for Kevin Keegan, obviously, who passed away during the summer and played for both teams, it was perfect. That's exactly what Liverpool cannot defend against right now. But that's also what Iraola and Bournemouth last season struggled against, those transitions. So he will have to sort that out for the Reds. But for Newcastle, that side of the plan was perfect, was great. Wisa is great in that. Osula is great in that. The wingers are great for that. The problem is that it's difficult to do it over 90 minutes to start with. And also, at times, you need a bit of control. You need to keep the ball. You can't just go vertical all the time.
I was really disappointed in Liverpool. They don't look anything like Bournemouth. And as you know, I'm a huge Iraola fan. And I understand why, because it takes time to have the chemistry. And I mean, the way even Iraola's Bournemouth wasn't Iraola's Bournemouth in his first few months there. It takes time. Yeah. However, I think I have this other concern, which is that these pieces just don't fit. And it feels like shades of last season. The midfield, Gravenberch plus Szoboszlai, the two of them on their own. When I have a front four when I have this front four anyway, they're going to get overrun in transition.
Yeah.
They're not going to have that. The wing backs, you want them to attack, you need them to attack, but just defensively, they're not going to be able to necessarily do this unless you put a plan in midfield. And Alexander Isak. I just quickly because we're going to get into this more in the Gab Juls podcast, but which area do you think is the biggest concern? Midfield, defense, or attack?
Oh, it's midfield for me every day.
All right, Dr. Jules. The area that we need to operate on in your view is midfield.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I don't understand how we can be here now on August the 24th and Liverpool still haven't signed a midfielder. They've lost another one in Curtis Jones. We've got Gravenberch and Szoboszlai, plus McAllister who came off the bench. And as you said, Gabby, they are good players. The problem is not the quality of the players. The problem is the way this team is going to play with two very attacking fullbacks. You need more control in that midfield. You need more defensive strength in that midfield, which neither Szoboszlai or Gravenberch has. Neither of them is a 6. Arguably, neither of them is really an 8 either. And okay, you can make a case for Gravenberch a little bit more than Szoboszlai, who Szoboszlai was a attacking wide player, a 10, but certainly not. Again, he runs a lot, he presses well, he's a great player. Again, we're not questioning the quality of the players. But this team was so open. Again, they're not going to play every single weekend against a team as good as this Newcastle team in transition. Sure. But still, that midfield is not good enough and certainly not what this team needs for the way the other players play.
So here's how I see it. I agree with your assessment so far. I don't think McAllister, by the way, certainly if we get last season's McAllister, who seemed to save himself for the World Cup, that's not going to move the needle. But for me, the difficulty is in the formation, because if I have two guys there who are, two specialist, mean defensive midfielders, fine. Then I can carry the 4-2-3-1. For me, if you're going to play 4-2-3-1 with these kinds of attacking fullbacks, and it might change when Connor Bradley's fit, he can give you a little bit more, reads things a little better defensively. If you're going to play that, you have to kind of get it right. And you talked before about how Bournemouth got caught in transition sometimes last year. It takes time to build those mechanisms. Because when Bournemouth were good, the other team didn't see the ball, right? Other than like aimless balls and whatever. But to do that, you need a lot of time on the training pitch. You're not guaranteed to do it. And you're not guaranteed with these players who, let's face it, I think are less dynamic and less physical than the guys he had at Bournemouth. They're better players. And so to me, like, the midfield is definitely an issue. I think Szoboszlai in a 2 is just against a decent team. Doesn't work. Because you know what? You said it doesn't work against a team that plays in transition like Newcastle. Well, it doesn't work against a good team either that's going to have a lot of the ball. Because you're going to make Szoboszlai have him chase around all over the place.
No, but Liverpool rarely have, play against a team that has 70% of the ball either.
They don't need 70%. But even just a team with more quality that's going to want the ball more, I think it becomes a problem. I wonder if he needs to rethink this. And if you want to play 4-2-3-1, you put Szoboszlai at 10 and you move Wirtz wide. I don't know why that conversation's gone off the table. You can't give up on Wirtz given what you paid for him, but because Wirtz with Isak, and look, it'll be different when Ekitike comes back. Ekitike's a much more aggressive player, much more physical player, even though he's not physical. Isak's obviously bigger than Isak or close to it, but he plays with a lot more energy, right? To me, the issue is in the formation as much as it is, because if you can adjust the formation, now the question is, can I adjust my formation? Because I am playing towards replicating what I had at Bournemouth, which is what got me the job here.
Yeah.
Can I do that with a different formation? And I'm not sure he can. I think that's the trade-off. That's what he's weighing up.
Yeah, I don't think he will change the formation. The problem for Iraola as well is that this is a team that will have, like we saw on Sunday, a lot more the ball than his Bournemouth team used to have before. And he used to coach that Bournemouth team to be very good in that verticality in transition. But with the ball, the games where they had more than 50% of the ball last season, they didn't do as well. With this team now, this is a team that has the ball, that plays with the ball, and there's much less verticality than anything before. So even him will have to, in a way, change a little bit, I think, his approach and his philosophy to it. The bottom line is there's a week left in the transfer window, and they still need players to start with, just need bodies. They need more players in these squads because, Victor Munoz did okay when he came on, but he's a squad player and they just need more body. They need more wingers. They need more midfielders. and then they need players that would probably fit what he wants more, that are fitter, that are better defensively, certainly in that midfield, and probably a fullbacks. But they won't do that. They won't sign 5 players between now and the end of the transfer window.
No, there's no shot.
If they have 2, that will already be a result, I think. So
it was we saw last year, even when they needed one player, i.e. Mark Gay or any kind of semi-competent center back, they ended up screwing it up on the last day of the transfer window and then did nothing in January, and that nearly cost them dear. So I don't follow that. They seem to be all in on wingers. They've been linked with Yakuba Minte. Before that, of course, they were linked with Diomande. They were linked with Barcola. Obviously, there's a type, the very fast, skillful winger who can run at people and run past them. Sure, very good player. Is he better than Cody Gakpo if you want to play a certain way? If he plays, if you have him on the left or if you have him on the right, is he better than what Rio, who isn't even 18 years old yet, can give you? Sure. But even then, I don't know that this is a more serious problem. Than what you described before in the midfield, and maybe even having an alternative at left back, because in certain games, I'm not going to blame Kirkes for the first goal where Elanga runs past him. You're in a foot race with Elanga, right? You're not going to catch him. Yeah. It's just that's fine. He made the right run. But obviously, there's ability there off the ball. And in certain games, you might want to go for a more defensive option. So I look at all this. I look at the signing of Araujo. You talk about adding a body. And I'm wondering what's going on and how much can this hurt them?
I mean, I think if they let Curtis Jones go, they already have a replacement in mind. And I would expect that midfielder to arrive soon. I think for Minte, the deal will happen. Whether it's a good deal or not, he's out for 6 weeks. It's a deal that you could have done much earlier in the summer, because they've liked him from a long time. And they even back in February, March, I was told that he was the one they wanted to replace Mo Salah on the right-hand side. And his stats, certainly when fit, have been outstanding in the Premier League, in everything, with the ball, without the ball, attacking-wise, defensively, all of that. So I can see it. And I think for 60 million, which might be a lot of money for Minte, I'm not saying that they're not overpaying, but I'm just saying this is the players that they want. That's the player that they wanted, that they want now, that Iraola really wants for that right-hand side. So I get that. But it feels really late again. And right now, if at least that starting 11, which looks decent on paper, by the way, it's good. The problem was the depth. If that was working, I think there would be less worries to have, because you would have a starting 11 that is functioning well, that is coherent, that is getting to grip with what the new manager wants, all of that. So, but that's not even the case. So that is the problem. Your depth in your squad is a problem. Your recruitment so far has been an issue, because we have 1 week left in the transfer window and all you brought is Araujo. So, and Victor Munoz, okay, but again, so I don't know. I think that if I was a Liverpool fan, those 7 days, I don't think I would sleep much.
And I'm assuming at this stage you keep Gakpo, right? Because the other thing, let me remind you, the other thing we haven't talked about is Ekitike is out until the new year. This means Isak has to play every game. And if we see the Isak that we've seen now, it's not going to work. So I don't know. I mean, again, had you moved earlier, maybe you think a striker on loan, maybe those are for 6 months until Ekitike is fit again, who just can take some of Isak's minutes away, help him try to regain his form. That's gone out the window, right? Unless you really want to play with Cody Gakpo up front, which is fine. But then you create then you're basically saying, even if Minte comes, unless I'm forgetting somebody, then you're saying my left-hand side is going to be Victor Munoz and Rio.
Yeah.
And they're also going to be my backup. One of them is going to be my backup on the right-hand side, too. They're simply short-handed.
But they might have, they're short-handed. They need players. And maybe they have those deals lined up, by the way. We're saying that a week in a way.
Yeah, maybe it's the strategy to go and do the deal at the end of the window.
But because...
They're obviously working on something.
They are, for sure.
If we can see it, they can see it.
So I think you could also hope and stay positive and just hope that they've got those lined up, and there's a midfielder that will arrive, and a winger or probably 2 will arrive, maybe another attacking player, and maybe like a fullback that can play either right or left. Like I don't know,
And-
let's say type like a Livramento type. I know he's injured and it won't be him, but you see that kind of guy.
Or Lewis Hall was mooted as well, but that's not going to happen.
No, and he can only really play on the
He's
purely
played
on the
both
left.
sides.
Yeah, but like Livramento is probably more suited for both. So, but for now, it's not, those signings are not there. And I think what we saw on Sunday, and I think they were a bit, despite good stats and good XG and things like that, they were lucky to get that draw. You know, if Lewis Hall doesn't make that silly foul in the box where Munoz is going nowhere,
Well,
you know, the game they lose that game 2-1, and then it's tough, even tougher.
that's the point I was going to make. Iraola, like I have no issue with stats and analytics. I'm very pro stats and analytics. There has to be a context to it. And Iraola's too smart. When he said, well, we had twice the expected goals and we had 36 touches in the opposition box, he says that completely out of context. He knows that he's talking nonsense. The reason you had twice the XG is because of that penalty at the end, right? That's 0.79 on the XG. That weighs pretty heavily.
Yeah.
That's not down to your sparkling play. It's down to giving away a penalty, which, by the way, could have also not been given. I think it was the correct call, but different referee. If you put it this, it's the thing that he doesn't give, VAR is not going to step in.
Yeah.
Touches in the opposition box, I think it's a metric that needs to be contextualized. If the opposition sits deep, then it can be a pretty irrelevant stat. How about Yohan Wissa, and to transition to Newcastle, who for me was man of the match? It was incredible to watch.
That suits him as well, this style.
But then he's going to look back and say, man, I also missed two absolute sitters.
Yeah, one especially. The
Allison one.
Yeah.
Well, the other one where he doesn't connect, he's there, man.
But yeah.
You're center forward.
Yeah,
right?
I know. But
I think that's got to hurt him. It's weird that we can speak of him, of his glowing performance.
Yeah.
Those two go in, Liverpool concede 4 goals, and then it's really uphill.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think it was incredible. Last season was a frustrating season for him with the injury to start with, and then obviously a tough season, I think, for Newcastle overall. Despite the run into the Champions League, which was cool. But this suits him so well to play like that. I think whether he's him, the lone striker, or he plays with Osula behind, he gives you so much. And I think the problem, especially on the chance where Alisson makes the save, and he could have hit it a little bit better. It's a decent save. It's just after running so much and working so hard. Yeah, when you get to the last 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the game, he's going to start to be less lucid in front of goal, which is, again, normal. But yeah, I think if Yasler for him is perfect, and he's perfect for what Yasler wants to do.
Do you think, so this was effectively a 4-2-4, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to see, especially as players come back, as maybe they pick up another midfielder, away from home especially, do you think he's going to continue with 4-2-4?
I think he has one way of playing, really. We watched him for many years now, even in Saudi, and he had success. He won trophies, big ones. But, I think that's very much his DNA. I'm sure he can do different things and stuff like that. But I think that's the way they play. And again, yesterday, even with the crowd pushing them every time to go forward, all of that, they could and should have had more control, especially in that second half. And I just thought the penalty given away by Hall is unfortunate in a way because it's clumsy. But they kind of invited that, I thought, a little bit towards the end, and they will have to correct that because you in the Premier League, especially in the Bundesliga, it's a bit different because it seems like everybody apart from Bayern, I guess, maybe and Dortmund, just play like that. So it's very much a basketball game. In the Premier League, he will have to do a bit different.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how they line up against teams that put like 8 guys in the box. Final point, going back to Liverpool for a minute. You talked about a midfielder. Let's profile what we're thinking or what you're thinking, right? Because we know funds are not unlimited, especially after last summer's spending. Are you thinking of a starting caliber guy who can, maybe be a squad player but can fill in for Gravenberch or McAllister? Or are you thinking about a guy that becomes a starter? And secondly, where does Szoboszlai go?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need options. You need competition for places too. Whether that's Vert and Szoboszlai as a 10, and just pick the best one, and whether
And
that
drop one of them.
drop one of them or move another one somewhere else.
To the wing, yeah. Versus to the wing, I've been.
But I'm not a fan
Chief,
at all.
I know we disagree on this one.
Verts on the wing at all.
But he has to play somewhere, right?
Well, I guess so. Yeah. I would go and spend. I think they've been crying out for a midfielder, and they try Caicedo, which would have been perfect, and obviously missed out on Caicedo 18 months ago. They tried to be Mendy, who again they missed out, and yet those players who were clearly who had the right profiles and the right player for what they wanted in those positions, and then you've just stopped chasing those kind of profiles, which I don't understand.
I'm going to pull a name out of thin air. A guy who did well in Ligue 1 last year. I admired him. I'd never seen him in the flesh until the World Cup. Lamine Camara.
Yeah.
Is that the profile?
Yeah, completely. Yeah,
and that's not somebody who needs to start every game if he moves to Liverpool.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But he's probably better in that role, and also frees up Gravenberch to do other stuff too. Because
exactly.
Gravenberch's head playing with Szoboszlai must explode.
Yeah.
Defensively, right? When he's got people running all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's difficult for him. But I think even a Wharton type, those kind of guys, I think would be good for them. And there are a lot of options. I don't buy Buadi would have been great. Buadi is young and Buadi is super expensive, and maybe they don't have that money to spend on a midfielder like that. So maybe Wharton as well is too expensive, maybe. But there are options out there that they could have signed a month ago even.
Would Kamara be substantially cheaper than Buadi?
Yeah. Kamara is now £100 million.
No, but I mean, are we talking like in the 40-50 range?
Yeah. Which they have that money. They must have that money.
But I would rather spend it on that than on Minte, frankly, right now. Because you know what? Because Ekitike is coming back. I know Minte is better, right? But if you have to only choose one, I would choose the midfielder now. You've basically convinced me, because
yes,
I would assume that when Ekitike returns, like Isak's not going away, right? So I think you have to think in terms of the positive, which is Isak will get back to close to the level he was at, but it's going to take time. So it doesn't mean that Isak's going to be relegated to the bench immediately when Ekitike comes back. So that means Ekitike or Isak become an option in a wide area. Both have played there before in the past, right?
Yeah.
And I still have Victor Munoz, who's young, and I have Rio, and I have Cody Gakpo if I don't shift him, and I may need to find a home for Wirtz. Like, you can do a rejiggering there.
Yeah, that's not Iraola's type, though.
It's completely not.
Yeah.
But you know what? You signed him. You knew Isak and Wirtz were there when he arrived. He knew they were there. So he said, I'm not necessarily going to play the way I played at Bournemouth. I'm going to adapt it. He's a very smart guy. I have a lot of faith in him. I hope people will give him the time. All right, enough Liverpool. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
After 4,830 days, Jose Mourinho makes his return to La Liga. Real Madrid win 2-1 at Espanyol, but Jules takes a late scrambled goal from the new Gonzalo Garcia, Carlos Espi, to get it done.
Yeah, it was not the best of performances, despite an early goal on set piece. Gula for Bellingham. Gula, who started on the right-hand side with a lot of freedoms to leave that right-hand side to Denzel Dumfries, who started ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold on our right-hand side and was bombing forward and all of that. So you could see already what Mourinho is trying to do with Bellingham as a 10 and Vini and Mbappe and then a double pivot. There's still a lot of work, I think, to do there. And that also means Yan Diomande on your bench, for example. He came on and didn't really do too much when he came on. But for Mourinho, that looked, I thought, quite a lot, and the camera kept panning on him through the whole game, obviously, because he was the attraction, he was the big star. He looked quite worried, I thought, for a lot of the game until the 90 whatever minute it was, and when SP scored that scruffy goal. To win it, it's all about winning for him. He had to start with a win, of course, but there's a lot of work to do with this team.
Yeah, and I think what you described there with Tchouaméni in for Bernardo and Cucurella in at left back, leaving aside Militao, who at this point is kind of virtual. I think this is his idea of the team. And Diomande can be a guy coming off the bench to change games and so on. but I really think he wants to give Arda Güler a chance. And I got to talk about Carlos Espy just for a second. I was a big Gonzalo Garcia fan. I thought it was ridiculous how Arbeloa kind of didn't really give him a chance until kind of the season was over and Mbappe and Vini started saving themselves for the World Cup. I thought it was even funnier that then he goes and signs him for Fulham. Makes no sense. But there's a basic reality in football that if the other team is defending deep and you're desperate for a goal, simply having a large man up front who's going to put himself about is going to change things. It's a simple reference, a simple law of football. Even Pep Guardiola, you remember Pep Guardiola at Barcelona? Late in the game, we need a goal. What do we do? Gerard Piqué, go up front. It's a simple thing. There's no shame in it. And I'm so happy for this kid. And I'm so happy that somebody there was bright enough to realize, all right, Gonzalo, whatever. Let's bring somebody else in who can do that. And the kid looks so happy.
Bayern win the German Super Cup, beating Borussia Dortmund 2-1. Gab, my boy Michael Olise, looking good again.
First
half especially.
After that, all the Bayern looked good in the first half. Kobel felt like made like a million saves. And then, as Bayern sometimes do, they kind of packed it in a little bit. What surprised, and obviously Dortmund pulled one back late, maybe could have even equalized.
Easily,
like, oh no. What surprised me again is Vincent Kompany. Okay, I understand Musiala's out, Carl is out, Serge Gnabry's obviously out. But hey, look, let me put Nathaniel Brown in attacking midfield.
That was crazy.
Pulling that out of the hat. He scored a goal. He's obviously going to interpret the position differently. But this is why I love Vincent Kompany. He's thinking one step ahead. He's trying different things. And I thought in that first half, they looked, like you said, they look tremendous. It's kind of like, this is all we need to do. Manchester City leave it late to turn things around against Bournemouth, winning 2-1. Jules, deserved. And more importantly, though, how about Haaland's haircut?
I don't care too much about Haaland's new haircut. I think they had enough chances to certainly not lose that game. They looked shaky defensively on the goal and a couple of other occasions. Maresca is still tinkering with his midfield, and Gehi there, who even he was surprised to play there. I'd never played there before. So I'm not really sure exactly what Maresca tried to do. And I don't think Gehi, by the way, who did okay, but I don't think he was comfortable at all in that position.
He was also playing ahead of Elliot Anderson.
For a lot of it. I think he struggled to find the right position for himself and to move and all of that. But in the end, I think Shirky saved the day with 2 assists late, one on set piece, and then a wonderful pass for Gvardiol to almost spare the blushes for Maresca and City, who will have to do much better. But again, they could easily have done they could easily have scored early and put that game to bed.
Erling Haaland missed 2 sitters. Gay missed an even bigger sitter. Ryan Shirky needs to play. Enough of this tactical balance stuff. But we saw today, Foden can play wide, right? So,
Well, not really. He can't really play wide because he
put him wide. But
he was terrible. So there's for me, it's one or the other.
Was nice. The early back heel, and then it kind of disappeared after that.
What I mean. And sticking with City, Gabby, multiple sources, including us on the website on ESPN, reporting that City have agreed a fee of £85 million for Ayoub Bouhadi.
It's a ton of money for an 18-year-old. It doesn't change that. Now, in the modern game, amortization, all that, if he's just mid for 3 years, you sell him for $50 million and you net out. So that's the downside. The upside, if he lives up to the hype, to what we've seen, he's going to be tremendous. But Jules, you pointed out that maybe he's not ready to start straight away. Maybe you ease him into the team.
I'll start him, but he's just what you expect from him then, because it would take a bit of time, but he's got everything to be one of your star players.
Jules, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
Yes.
2 goals apiece for Rafinha and Fermin Lopez as Barcelona stomp Elche away 5-0. Who needs a center forward, huh?
Exactly.
Jules, how'd they look?
I thought they looked great, Gab. Rafinha has done number 9 if you want, or forced number 9, whatever, was outstanding, involved in pretty much everything. Fermin as a 10 looked great and looked really, really sharp after his injury earlier in the summer. And then we had Anthony Gordon coming on with 2 assists. In transition, they played great in transition. They played good with the ball. The only thing really was maybe a bit Lamine was a little bit off it at times and was certainly not happy to be subbed off and looked like he clearly showed that unhappiness on the bench, like a face like thunder he had, but perfect way for them, I think, to start the season. When you think there was no De Jong, no Rodri, no Kubasi, no Koundé,
No Pedri.
no Pedri.
Some of these guys
came
came
on
off the
at halftime
bench.
for
but
Gavi,
still.
who seemed to have picked up another injury. So I really enjoyed that performance. Manchester United fall to newly promoted Hull City away 2-0 on Saturday. Gab, not a good start for Michael Carrick.
No, I thought this was horrible. I thought this was a really, really... Look, you'd been telling me how overmatched Hull City were in the Premier League. Most people have them destined to go down. I'm not going to say they're a terrible side, but because they thoroughly deserve the win. They carved United up again in transition. They were better on set pieces. That midfield of Andre Santos and Yuri Tielemans, like, we love Tielemans. Tielemans does not run around the pitch like a madman, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not even the least athletic central midfielder they have because obviously Kobbie Mainoo is still there.
Yeah.
Andre Santos looks overmatched, and again, you're a big fan.
I know.
Maybe
I like
he'll
him.
develop
I like
over
him.
time.
I know. Yeah.
I don't know.
I hope so.
Matias Cunha does nothing. I know Sesko. I would have wanted to see Sesko start. He was obviously injured in preseason. I'm assuming this is why. But the message has to be clear. We spent a zillion pounds on Sesko. Sesko needs to be the person we build around. You get a pass for this one because he's not fit. But I would expect Carrick to have a lineup and a formation that suits Sesko, and it's going to be built around Sesko going forward. I'm telling you, this is going to be... He's got a lot of things to work on. He might get some help from the transfer window. Obviously, Carlos Baleba, we think is on his way. That's fine. I don't know, by the way, if Baleba comes, if you're going to continue playing 4-2-3-1, how psyched some of these guys, especially Andre Santos, is going to be, because then do I slip back in the pecking order now?
Yeah.
But there is a lot of work to do and not much time to do it because they have European football. Oh yeah, we mentioned this. Sticking with United, the good news is that Baleba almost done, but also now they're linked to Alejandro Balde. Do you like this, Jules? Are you a bit surprised too about how things are souring with Barcelona?
Yeah, for Balde, yeah. I mean, I know he's not the best defensively, obviously, but the attacking strength that he has, the pace and the technical ability, I think are great. Maybe there's been issues with, I don't know, attitude, which we don't know about, or maybe the injuries of the past. And I worry for some at Barcelona, so that they put him on the transfer market. I know United were looking for left backs through the whole summer, and we're linked with different ones like Lewis Hall, who was just, I think, too expensive in the end. I don't know if Alejandro Balde is the answer for them. Again, I think they need a full left back or right back, by the way, because I think they could do with another right back.
Balde can cover both.
Yeah, but as a proper left-footed, it's probably better suited on the left-hand side. But with that defense better. But when I look at that defense against Hull City of Mazraoui, Maguire, Heaven and Shaw, I mean, this is Manchester United we're talking about. This is a ranked defense.
De Ligt will be coming back at some point.
Martinez,
maybe Lenny Yoro will be good.
Yeah, no, for sure. But so Balde, question mark for me. Baleba is a big yes, because I think they need, as we said on Thursday, that kind of profile, the physicality, running with the ball, the carrying the ball, all of that. I think they need that. But again, how fit is he? And he's last season didn't have a good season either.
I'm assuming Barcelona are doing this to balance the books.
I think so.
Seems kind of like... It seems like Barcelona players, especially ones who are homegrown, love being there, but they also have to accept that the club will try to drive them out when they need to, because we saw the same thing with Fermin Lopez, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Inter Milan rolled to a 4-1 win over Monza. Gab, Francesco Pio Esposito is pretty good and scored a pretty good goal.
Oh, yes. You like that? The little backheel flick? It's
still not the goal of the weekend, because I'm sure we'll mention, for me, the goal of the weekend a bit later on. But yeah, that was sweet.
Calhanoglu might want to have a word as well. It was in the same match.
Even that can't beat.
I just love the amount of energy and unselfishness that he brings. Go center forwards with his profile don't always play with this much energy. Inter have a proper rotation now. Takes pressure off of Lautaro, who is going to have to ease into the season. He wasn't particularly good. Takes pressure off of Marcos Thuram. He was hoping to play a little more at the World Cup. And then Antoine Yamboni's there. He's got to be smart how he uses his four forwards, but that is a deep attacking core. Ferran Torres has to come off the bench to rescue Paris Saint-Germain away to Rennes. Jules, reason to be concerned, or should we just celebrate the genius of Luis Enrique? People were laughing at Ferran Torres. Who's laughing now?
Well, great coaching because, everything he did in terms of match management, in-game management, for Luis Enrique worked yesterday. We were not good at all in that first half, although we had a big chance to come back to 1-1. But conceded twice in transition, which was poor. The rest defense, a bit like the Liverpool rest defense, was not good enough on Sunday night for PSG. But then Fabian Ruiz and Ferran Torres, Mika Götze as well coming on and all having a really good impact. But the 2 goals that Ferran scored, the movement that he had, and I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan, but I have to say he was really good on Sunday. I was telling my kids I don't like him, and then he saved us. It's 2 games now. The Lens defeat the previous weekend, this draw there, which I think, again, I expected it because they're not ready and they're not fair. Luis Enrique took off Kvaratskhelia and Dembele at half-time.
Ballon d'Or winner.
Had strong words against Dembele in his post-match interviews as well. So it'd be fun for the next few weeks.
When you win 2 Champions League titles, you can, or 3 even, you can, and you're a little mad, you can act like Luis Enrique does.
Brentford destroys Spurs 3-0. Gab, Roberto De Zerbi said they were unprepared and had no soul.
Yes, he's 100% correct.
Isn't his job to prepare them?
Might be, but he's got a long injury list. They were just terrible. It doesn't excuse us. Who's unprepared? Wait, Tonali, what did you do this summer? Hey, how'd you enjoy the World Cup? Gallagher, hey, how was your World Cup? Oh, wait. How they could be unprepared physically, I don't know. They shouldn't be unprepared tactically because they've been working with De Zerbi. Credit to Brentford that the guy in midfield who they picked up was
Sangaré from Lens.
Sangaré was
That's what Ligue 1 do to you.
It was devastating. Imagine that guy at Liverpool.
Exactly. But that's the kind of profile they needed.
But there's a lot to work on. Look, they're going to make more moves in the transfer window. I suppose that'll help. I don't love the guys you're talking about signing.
Savinho and Marmoush?
Yeah, no, I don't.
But that's who they're going to sign.
I think the improvement will come when their injured guys come back because they have a super long injury list. This is way back on Friday, but Arsenal began their campaign with a 3-0 win over Coventry City.
Yeah, Coventry are not good at all, but Arsenal were outstanding from start to finish, even just in second gear. They didn't even have to play more than second gear. Kai Havertz again scoring after counter-pressing and everything. I thought Odegaard looked sharp. Yeah, it was great to start this season. Julian Alvarez gets booed before, during, and after Atletico Madrid's 2-2 draw with Villarreal on Sunday. Gab, any sympathy?
I have none whatsoever. He deserves everything he gets. There is a way. You have to be an adult about this. I think I don't blame Barcelona in this because they make an offer. They're told, hey, this is here. It is a little sketch when his agent also happens to be Hansi Flick's agent.
Yeah.
But no, I will always side with the fans. I don't know if Atleti are going to stick it out until the end or try to sell him somewhere else or whatever. But this is bad. As for the game itself, it finished 2-2, 2 penalties. Atleti not happy with that, but they also did go down to 10 men after Robin Lenormand went off. Brighton were 4-0 up on Aston Villa after half an hour. Jules, this is really ugly for Unai Emery. And he also has an Ollie Watkins problem.
Yeah, he has, because Watkins was not even in the matchday squad. He refused to play, refused to train all week. He wants to move away, probably to Saudi Arabia. I think that they're the only team really linked for him right now. And if you're Villa, until you find a replacement, whether that's for Aaron Balogun, for example, who they really like, and they've been in touch with Monaco over him, you can't let Ollie Watkins go if there's no replacement, because that leaves you with Tammy Abraham. And then Tammy is good, but he's no Watkins. And then you also need a backup at some point. So that's
they have the other guy who played against Paris Saint-Germain, Maggio, was that the name?
Yeah, Maggio, who's injured now, but who's still only 17.
He's the size of a building.
Yeah, and maybe that's it then.
But this is Aston Villa we're talking about.
Yeah, no, you're right, maybe. Although I think they will push to do Balogun. For the game in itself, they started well, and then one mistake, and they fell apart to a point that we've seen them falling apart before, even under Unai Emery, and having the lack of reaction sometimes, but that was horrendous.
This is where I struggle with. And look, we haven't heard Ollie Watkins' side of the story. And Unai Emery certainly gave the impression that it was Ollie Watkins' choice not to go. And so, when you only hear the club side, whatever. I just really wonder about what sort of people some of these guys are. And the same goes for Alvarez. And look, I'm cynical. Clubs will screw players over when they can. It's a business. I get that, right?
Yeah.
But you had your eyes wide open. You knew Aston Villa's financial situation. You knew that, they were going to sell Morgan Rogers for a lot of money and stuff like that. You have an agent whose job it is to go and keep track of these things. You should be making a commitment to the club at a certain point, not trying to force moves or whatever, given what the club has given you. And you've given to the club too, but you also are a highly paid professional. And I just find this really, really disappointing from Watkins. Not as bad as Alvarez, because there's other elements there going on.
Yeah.
But it's a rough one, and they also have an Emi Martinez situation, which is a different one.
Yeah.
But again,
they need to find him a way out.
Is there an order of operations problem here? Like maybe don't blow 30 million on a goalkeeper until you've moved your starting goalkeeper?
Yeah. Ruben Amorim begins his Milan career with a 2-1 win over Torino as young and old Alpha Cisse and Adrien Rabiot score.
Can we talk about Alpha Cisse?
Yeah.
I don't know. Ruben Amorim.
A year ago, he was in Serie B.
Has a ton of faults. We know this. We've seen him up close, right? But to have the freedom to say, oh, look, this guy had a bad injury, played for Catanzaro. Let me chuck him into the starting lineup. Okay, and I know what
he had a good preseason, though. He had a really good preseason.
Good preseason. There was no Pulisic. I know, but you also had Salamakers there and Diego Moreira there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you think Max Allegri would have ever done this? Do you think Max Allegri knows who Alpha Cisse is, even though Milan signed him back in January? Yeah, I'll tell you. No, he has no idea. So I think it takes guts. I like the fact that big Italian clubs are playing the kids occasionally, especially Italian kids. Like this guy, he's from Treviso, although obviously he's of African, I think, descent. And I thought he played really, really well. Yeah, should have won a penalty as well.
Milan played really well, to be fair. But the goal of the weekend is Che Adams' goal. Incredible goal. By far the goal of the weekend. But I thought Milan and especially in the first half were outstanding.
It's Serie A is where you go for your highlight reel. Che Adams, take a bow, son.
Calcio is back.
David Ancelotti gets all 3 points on his debut for Lille away to Angers. Jules, that handsome guy who opened the scoring looks a little bit familiar.
Yeah, Olivier Giroud, 40-year young very soon. Next month, he will turn 40 years old. Scored after 11 minutes. Scores on the opening day of last season after 11 minutes as well for Lille. Then it was a bit more difficult for him, obviously at that age. And he was not supposed to be the starting number 9 really this season because Fernandes Pardo, as we mentioned, I think on Thursday, he was supposed to be the one. But a bit like Villa and Watkins, Lille have a problem with him who wants to leave. Very solid from Davide Ancelotti, coherent in the team that he picked up and the performances that he had individually, collectively as well. That was sound. So good start for him.
This is his big shot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And so far, so good. Gelson Bremer scores to give Juventus a 1-0 win away at Frosinone, newly promoted Frosinone. But Gab, why was Spalletti so mean to my boy Randall Colomwani? Back to the club.
He's from Bondi. I put Paris born and bred in the script. He's from Bondi. He's not even the most famous.
Bondi born and bred, yeah.
He's not the most famous footballer from Bondi, is he?
He's probably not even in the top. Not top 2 for sure. Top 3, 5 maybe.
Wait, who's the other one?
Mbappe, Saliba.
Oh, Saliba, that's
Jacquet.
Right. I knew.
Jeremy Jacquet from Liverpool.
Well, you put Jeremy Jacquet ahead of Colin White. It's a bit early this career.
I mean,
Anyway, to tell you what Spalletti said.
Yeah,
so Juve created chance. For those who know, they're not very good. Juve created chance. They weren't great. Douglas Luiz got the start. Was laid a turd as you'd expect. I don't know what they're gonna do with them. Juve haven't finished. They're not done. They're gonna. I think we'll see a lot of ins and outs. But Colomwani missed an absolute sitter early. He missed another one later.
Yeah.
And Spalletti comes out and says, well, if he hasn't played in 2 years, he hasn't scored in 2 years, is what he meant to say, there must be a reason. Sometimes you think you're exceptional, and that leads you to forget what made you great. Now, he only scored 1 league goal last season in 30-odd appearances for Tottenham, which is not good.
Yeah.
But, man, why did you take this guy back?
Because they like him, and he likes it there. And they know there's a good player because he was good when he went on loan there the season before last.
He wasn't that good.
He was good. He started really well. Then had
50 million commitment to Paris Saint-Germain, 4 million euros. And then 34 million. If Juve qualify for Europe, they have to spend 34 million to make the deal permanent.
Yeah. I really hope they qualify for Europe.
I thought you might. I thought you might. Like I don't want to have a go at him, but it seems so bizarre of Spalletti to go. Obviously, not every player. People say, "Oh, it's confidence." Yeah, confidence. Some players rely more on confidence, some less.
Yeah, and rhythm,
I don't know if it's an issue with this guy. But why would you go and undermine him when you said to the club, yeah, let's get him, right?
That was brutal.
They're already destroying Jonathan David by trying to sell him all over the world, right? I know that you're in a bad financial position, but why Colomwani? I don't get this. 2 out of 3 newly promoted teams start with a win. Woo! Jules, let's hear it for Ipswich Town, who beat Sunderland with a late Jack Clark goal.
Yeah, and a massive mistake from Sunderland. Why are you trying to play out from the back? You almost got caught a few minutes before in a similar position. And this time you are made to pay for it. Good from Ipswich and Gary O'Neill in terms of, again, the energy, the intensity, a bit what we saw with Hull City against United. And we knew they were going to play like that. And Siso was outstanding because when he runs at you and when he has that kind of freedom, he can be really good. But I thought Sunderland, especially after coming back to 1-1 with that Angulo free kick, just had it there, even just a point. But they had chances. They should have won it, probably. But then at least if you can't win it, don't lose it. And they did. So well done to Ipswich. A lovely goal by Jack Clark. I think they've spent a lot of money on it and on their squads this summer. A lot of money, £150 million. It's a lot of money from Ipswich to give them all the tools to be able to stay up. So let's see. But at least it was the perfect start.
And Emerson, of course, has an extra M in his name, which probably makes him better than the other Emersons we've seen.
And again, Ligue 1, Ligue 1 product. That's what you do. Napoli win 2-0 away to Genoa. Gab, all well for Max Allegri on his debut?
No. And again, narrative, De Laurentiis Napoli president going like, oh, we won. Yeah, it's the only good thing here is that you got the 3 points. Napoli's XG, minute 60. 0.10. And you're playing Genoa. You're not playing Paris Saint-Germain or Barcelona. You're playing Genoa.
Who had chances, by the way.
Who had chances as well. Yeah, my boy Baldanzi, like sneaking around in there. They have big Vitinha as well. The other thing, which obviously completely incensed Genoa and Daniele De Rossi in the club, was De Bruyne's goal. Sorry, this is the other thing, right? Allegri, because the 2 subs scored, De Bruyne and Vergara, look, his changes.
Yeah.
First of all, Danchek a genius to send on De Bruyne. Second of all, De Rossi thought it was a foul.
It could be given, I thought so too.
The thing is, you got to call those all season long if you're going to do this, right? So I can see why he's upset. The other one, Otoa doesn't sort out his seat and basically shepherds the ball into the net for the Vergara goal. So I don't think you have anything to be crowing about or being happy about. Rasmus Højlund and Lorenzo Luca combined for 0 shots and 1 touch in the opposition box. Those are your center forwards. I rest my case.
Yeah.
Let's go to the championship. West Brom striker Aune Hegebo has been banned for 2 games for intentionally deceiving the referee. Remember, this is when the guy who scored with his hand against Norwich.
Yeah, and Philippe Clement, the Norwich manager, really not happy. As you would understand, there's no VAR in the championship, and what he did in his press conference before the game at the weekend was to read out the list of the 81 leagues and 81 countries. Some have VAR in the top 2 leagues, where they have VAR to highlight the fact that how come the championship in England doesn't have the VAR. So he's starting by alphabetical order. It was amazing to watch. If you have 5 minutes to waste in your life, go and listen, because he has the list and he goes Algeria, Albania. It's amazing. And he goes through the whole all the countries, and he's right.
He's right. I also understand culturally the football league is different. This country's different, whatever. I would have done the exact same thing he did. Actually, I wouldn't have been creative enough. Well done, Philippe. What I find shocking here is that people aren't blaming Hegebo. People are blaming the referees for not catching it.
But both, really. Because Hegebo should have said, and that's why he's been suspended. Yeah. He should have said, listen,
he should have been suspended for longer. He should have been, and this isn't the first time we've had it. We've seen it happen in the Premier League as well, with Paul Scholes a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I agree.
It's not a good situation.
Bloomberg report that UAE officials warned the British government that a negative outcome or heavy sanction against Manchester City over those 115 charges, against the Premier League, could strain relations, that's the quote, between the two countries. Is this a big deal? Is this for real?
Bloomberg reports it, so I'm assuming it's well sourced. If I'm Khaldoun Al Mubarak, the first thing I do is I get on the phone with my boss, and I say, please find whatever government officials in our government went and did this, and I don't know, leave him in a room with me and a baseball bat, because this is one of the worst things that could happen. There's two readings of this, right? This does not help Manchester City. I think Manchester City are furious that this happened.
Yeah.
One reading is, they're worried that, and so they're trying to exert political pressure. I don't believe that's right at all. Because, first of all, I actually believe the whole process is pretty watertight. I know it's absurd. It's been years, and we still don't have a verdict, even though proceedings ended a long time ago. But I don't think City have any knowledge whatsoever, worried one way or the other. I don't think anything's leaking. Secondly, City are too smart. City know that anything like this is only going to make them look worse. So I think they would have been totally against them.
Yeah.
Whoever thought that this was going to be clever, this crap doesn't work in this country, right? They don't. The Premier League is its own animal. They don't like listening to the government. And come on, think about who's in charge of the government now here in this country, Andy Burnham. No chance. Betis beat Real Sociedad and our boy Rino Matarazzo on Friday night, 1-0.
Yeah.
And Jules, they're getting help in the form of Troy Parrott for 60 million.
Yeah, he was there in the stands watching. Has been outstanding last season, really, in the Eredivisie with Alkmaar. It's a big move for him, I think, to obviously a better team, a bigger league. And I think Betis, who have Cucho Hernandez up front, of course, could do with his eyes for goal and his movement in the box and all of that. So I'm looking forward to seeing.
It's an alternative.
Yeah, to an alternative and seeing if he does well or not. England, France, and Spain are among the countries that have named squads for the Under-20 Women's World Cup in Poland next month. Gab, does this mean they won't boycott it?
Well, they were keen to point out that they didn't just want to, if you remember UEFA threatening to boycott all FIFA competitions, or saying they would boycott all FIFA unless Gianni Infantino's plan for the football forward thing wasn't just withdrawn, but that they would make a pledge never to do this ever again. He hasn't done the pledge, so theoretically the boycott should still be on the table. I hope to learn more when I get to hang out with all the UEFA folk in Monaco next week. Like the Under-20 World Cup in Poland, you can move it. You can have alternative competitions. You can just play it later in the year. You're not going to deny these women these chances of playing.
Yeah.
The problem is October 9th. Because October 9th, this is when you've got the Women's World Cup qualifying playoffs. That is where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
You boycott that, then you have an issue because there is a Women's World Cup in 2027. So we'll see which way this goes. Punishments have been handed out for the brawl post-World Cup final, Jules. Do they seem fair to you?
Yeah, I mean, remember we did the show straight after that final and we said...
You were angry.
We were angry. We said Paredes should be banned for a long time. He got 10-game ban, which I think is fair for the fight that he kind of created by himself, really. Molina, 7. Again, I think is right. Then you've got Thiago Almada and Gavi with 1 for little scruffle. I'm glad to see that Paredes with a hefty fine, although the money is no problem for neither of them or the Argentine Federation anyway. But they got heavily sanctioned.
Yeah, and I think they're also going to have to pay some games at 50% capacity.
Yeah.
I don't know how heavy a sanction this is. I mean, how many official games? I mean, I kind of imagine Argentina's next 10 games are all going to be friendly.
Yeah.
Or thereabouts.
Well, no, yeah. The Guardian reported on plans for a combined UEFA CONCACAF Nations League, Gab. This seems an obvious attempt to circumvent Gianni Infantino and FIFA.
Yeah, this is a little bit naughty, but you want to play out the scenario? You put the UEFA teams, the CONCACAF teams, maybe their friends in Asia, who of course also signed that statement against Infantino. And then all of a sudden, could you imagine a Nations League where, I don't know how it worked. Presumably you wouldn't fly across the world regularly to play each other, but maybe
somewhere,
maybe the top 16 qualify for a tournament instead of a Final Four. We'll we'll have a Sweet 16 at the end.
Yeah,
and with
yeah,
that
yeah.
might be a
Somewhere
little
in-
miniature World Cup somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
That's what they're trying to do, I think. Lionel Messi scores, but Inter Miami fall at Toronto FC 2-1. Jules, 1 point from their last 5 MLS and Leagues Cup games.
Yeah, it's tough. They concede a lot of goals. They miss a lot of chances as well because, again, I think in this game, the defeat is a little harsh considering how many chances they had and how well they played at time. But there's a lot of frustration, I think, for Leo Messi too. There was a few incidents. He's kind of slapped the back of the head of one of his opponent and things that you don't usually see him doing. And obviously a lot happened during the World Cup and the final loss. Then after that, his father, everything. So you can completely understand, frustration. They're human beings as well, those players. But yeah, poor patch of form certainly. Not so much for him, but for the team. Shakhtar Donetsk will play their home Champions League games at Stamford Bridge this season. Gab, is this a good idea?
I think it's a good idea. I think the reality is their country is at war. They were attacked by Russia. They've had to play away from home, although they play in Germany where they had a lot of
Poland,
or Poland where they had support. And it's obviously nearby, but you take it to London, you take it to a bigger dimension. Stamford Bridge is not in use, and for me personally, and very selfishly, I like the fact that I will have more than one Champions League football option on Champions League match nights.
Yes, exactly.
Cristiano Ronaldo scored back on Friday in Al Nassr's 4-0 win over El Riyadh. Jules, it's 25 straight seasons with at least one goal.
Yeah, incredible. It's a good finish as well if you haven't seen it in a game that they dominated quite heavily, and Ange Postecoglou was very happy, and there will be much tougher games where he might not be as efficient and in that kind of goal scoring form. But I mean, we run out of superlatives anyway of his career and how incredible of a goal scorer he's been. I don't think this will ever be beaten. Really, 25 seasons in a row to score in one of the big leagues, as in like of the top flights of a country. This is still a big league. It's still the top flight in Saudi Arabia. I think he's just remarkable. And that's, for what we say, is probably his last season.
I wonder, you say they'll never be beaten, but Lewandowski and Giroud, aren't they? Oh, no, because Giroud took a while to get going. He was at Grenoble.
Lewandowski, 25 years, 25 seasons in a row.
He's at 20, 21. Who knows?
Probably not. 25 is a lot. It's a lot. FIFA President Gianni Infantino is still under pressure, Gabi. CONCACAF President Victor Montagliani asked him not to attend an event in the Caribbean, and UEFA President Alexander Seferin said mean things about him for a change.
Yeah, it's bad cop and good cop, isn't it? So the Montagliani thing, they had the Caribbean Football Union meeting. He sent a letter, and the letter was made public. Well, we had it at ESPN as well, basically saying like it's not appropriate for you to be here. So what does he do? He comes anyway. You can't stop him from coming. And to be fair to Infantino, obviously, and I would have done exactly the same thing. He meets with the head of the Olympic Committee and the sports minister and this and that because these countries hedge their bets. They don't know who's going to win. As for Alexander Cheferin, he appeared on Alistair Campbell's podcast, and he was extremely clear. He said Infantino needs to resign. He says, so there's two options. Either he realizes, and I quote here, he realizes he doesn't have the support, not only the political support of the ones who vote, which ultimately is what's going to matter, but the political support of the football community, the political support of fans, the political support of players, former players and coaches. The problem is these guys don't vote, although they can put pressure on their FAs if they want to. Or the second option is that he's going to go to the elections in March. In that case, I think somebody will stand against him. I don't know yet who. Cheferin said it's not going to be him, which is good because Cheferin would lose. And he said he doesn't think it's going to be Nasser. If he says this, it's pretty obvious it's not going to be Nasser. So the question is, who's it going to be? Will it be the good cop, Victor Montagliani?
Yeah.
Will somebody else come out of the woodwork? Stay tuned. Or will it even get to that? Because it's entirely possible that if he resigns before, somehow, we will get an interim boss through March, and then maybe it'll be two totally different candidates. Sure. Jules, this brings us to an end.
Yes.
I'm not going to be here on Thursday. I will be in Monaco at the Champions League draw. You'll be holding down the fort with Don Hutchinson, I believe.
That's right.
So until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.